Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today's pick a card reading is all about living your best life. And the inspiration for doing this reading came from a set of oracle cards that I recently acquired via Kickstarter. And they are the oracle cards called the Heart Code Oracles. The particular Kickstarter was run by Danielle Malin. All the details about where you can now get these cards are in the description box below if you want to get them, because the Kickstarter is obviously now complete. But what Danielle did is that she did a set of 5 different decks that covered different areas for the Heart Code Oracles. So there was a deck for each of relationships, finance, wellness, lifestyle and career. And anybody familiar with my channel and the diversity of topics that I like to cover will know why I was very much drawn to getting the whole set. You can get the whole set, you can get individual ones depending upon what you want if you go to her website or to her Etsy shop. And as I say, the details for the latter will be in the description box below. But what I thought was a way to use all these cards, because you'll start to see these decks used in different readings where the topics are appropriate, but I thought it actually gave a great opportunity to do a kind of holistic, where's your life at, how do you live your best life type of approach, where we use the cards from each of the decks around those elements. We look at what it brings together, and then we also look at what are the predominant energies there, and sort of spiritual support, spiritual advice to living your best life, as I said. So as with everything, the important thing will be to tune into the right reading, and you're more than welcome to go to more than one if you feel drawn to more than one. To help with that, I've used different colours from the decks. The decks all have different backing colours to them. And I've also used the Chakra Placement Stones. So on pile 1, I have the solar plexus chakra stone, pile 2 has the throat chakra, and pile 3 has the third eye chakra. That doesn't mean that's the predominant energy. The chakra energies are not predominant. They're just 3 that I think are important to us living our best life. And hopefully between that and the colours and whatever other ways you use to tune in, including pausing the video if you need to and contemplating before going on, you'll get a real sense about which one you should be going to, or which ones if you're drawn to more than one. And when you know, the timestamps as always are in the description box below. So once you're sure about that, I'll see you at your reading. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So as I say, these are the Heart Code Oracle cards. And so this is from the Lifestyle deck. This is from career, finance, relationships and wellness. And I think as a combination, we can get a bit of a sense about where the strengths, benefits, blessings are, and also where the challenges are. And starting maybe with the challenge, because I think this may permeate some of the rest of this overall spread. When we are looking at lifestyle, you have the card blame, and this comes up when it is possible that either now or in the near future you may feel or actually experience being blamed for something that isn't your fault. Now this could be in relationship, or it could be in career, or in some other more general sort of thing, because down here around wellness it is urging you to nurture yourself. So you could get blamed from someone if they feel that you're not paying enough attention to them compared to you, for instance. If you have relationships that are out of balance and where you are expected to give more than you receive and your needs are not necessarily being met, then that could be occurring on that level. If you try and shift to something that the cards are saying here in terms of nurturing yourself, you should be doing. It could also be in career in some way, or it could be around a relationship. Down here in relationship, and I will get into each of these in more detail, but I'm trying to give you an overview at the moment. In the relationship side of things, there's a sense of seeking for something. So there's two different ways of reading this card, and it really depends on whether you're in a relationship or not. But what it is suggesting is that if you're not, you're searching for something, and the search itself is almost stopping the energy from coming in. It's that thing about when you let go and let God, that's when the energy comes. When you stop looking, that's when you meet the person. If you're with someone, it could be that you're not sure it's the right person. You're searching more generally within the relationship to see if it's the right relationship. And if that's the case, this card generally tends to suggest that the relationship is more solid than you think it is. And so maybe, again, stopping the analysis and just experiencing it can happen. But certainly if you're in a relationship and there's some sort of blame game going on, then that may be a signal of something else. Or if you're in a relationship where you're doing all the nurturing, that may be a signal of something else. So it really depends on where you are at the moment in your life, given this is a collective reading, as to how those connect. It's also possible that the blame issue may be around work. In the career area, we have frustration, and that suggests that things will occur. It is actually a really good card. It suggests that things that you are aiming for, the projects that you want to flower and everything will occur, but there's a timing issue. So it's possible, because it's called frustration, it's possible, again, that if there are timing issues going on around something in your workplace or some project you're working on with people, that there may be also that sort of sense of, are people going to be blamed for this? But it's not actually that anything is wrong. It's not actually that anybody's doing the wrong thing. It's just timing and so forth. But it's interesting because all of these cards suggest to me the searching around relationship, the frustration in career, the actual experience of being blamed for something, or the fear that you're going to be, and the need to nurture yourself, all come back to this card really, which is lifestyle. So around finance, it's saying that if you are thinking about your finances, you're thinking about where to put your energy, where to put your money, and also, you know, how to get the best outcomes for yourself. It's suggesting that thinking about your lifestyle and how you want to live your life is one of your best ways to work out where to put your energy. So what that means is, when you are thinking about your wellness, look at what you can do to nurture yourself through your lifestyle changes and where money invested in that could be helpful. So, you know, go and have a holiday at a spa, for instance, or think about nutritional programs or something like that. Anything that you may be spending time or resources on in your lifestyle that helps you nurture yourself more is a good thing. The lifestyle, again, you know, what you're spending in a relationship or searching for a relationship, what do you enjoy? What will actually be the best use for the money and the resources that you have available? And also, when you're deciding about career or creative endeavors, what ones, you know, where you're putting your resources and your time. If you think about finances more than just money, you think about it as resources in general, where are you going to put your time where you don't run into these sort of frustrations, or the sense that if something doesn't hit a particular mark at a particular time, you've got to look for the fault in it or the blame? Because overall this suggests the only real issues for you at the moment are around timing and around maybe over-analysing things. And it's getting back to first principles about living your best life, as this particular reading is about, helps you get into that balance. And if somebody is wanting to blame you for something, you have much more clarity in how you don't have that happen. So in combination, I think this suggests to me that you've been through some difficult times. You may, as I say, have been blamed for things that you shouldn't have been blamed for. You may be feeling a little bit stuck, particularly around your career. And you might be starting to think, do I need to find a new career, a new way of doing things? That's where thinking about your lifestyle and what overall this brings to you, because frustrations at the moment are more likely to be temporary. And in relationships, all types of relationships, are you making sure to nurture yourself enough? That balances this out, I think. So let's use tarot to get a little bit more information about what are the key elements here, because once a combination of what I'm feeling about this, and which I'm feeling is these two cards really, and what tarot might tell us, we'll then use a few more heart code oracle cards around those particular topic areas before we move into sort of spiritual types of support and advice as well too. So firstly, Spirit, can you give us a little bit more information about how this balance is working out, and where the real points of benefit or the points of challenge that are worth investigating are in Pile 1's life? Okay, so firstly I would say that this is suggesting that some choice is before you at the moment. And the good news about that, I think, Pile 1, is that when there is actually choice, that does mean that it's in your ballpark, that you can actually control the outcome more than possibly at the moment you're feeling. It definitely looks as though you feel that you're a little bit under scrutiny or under attack. the fact that it's the Five of Swords, it's not too dramatic, and probably the worst is over, and you can actually move away from that energy fairly quickly with more peace of mind, which is where we get to with the Six of Swords. But it does look as though something has come out with the High Priestess reversed. There's some information that's come out, there's some debate, and I feel like it's probably around your career, though it's possible it could be in a relationship, but we're not seeing like a lot of Cups energy there or anything to suggest a relationship. It's more in who you are in the world with the King of Wands there, and in this sort of intellectual side of things with the Swords energy. So on one side we have the King of Wands, and I think that's a really good sign that you are on the right path, particularly around career, creativity, that sort of thing. You've gone through a lot to get to a sense of self-actualization, a sense of confidence, and Spirit is saying don't lose that confidence. Even if somebody does want to blame you for something, or even if you are feeling a bit stuck for some reason, there is the right energy for you to move forward, and you will get the information that you need, and that will probably have at least something to do with timing, but it might also have to do with if it's in a workplace or with a collaborator or something like that. If some of you are dealing with people who are competing with you a bit and they maybe are not being completely honest and open about that, then you are going to find out about that. So Spirit says definitely you're going to know. If you don't already know, and go, yes, I know exactly what that is, and it relates to my career or it relates to a relationship, you're going to work that out. Spirit is also saying that you're burnt out to some degree. With the Five of Swords and the Two of Swords, I get a sense almost of a kind of a internal debate going on all the time. The Two of Swords feels like you're not able to make the decision that the Death card is asking you to make. It does suggest with the Death card that certain information, particularly with High Priestess involved, is going to come through that will make the decision almost inevitable for you. I think the decision ultimately, whatever it is that you're feeling stuck in, it will feel easy. It will actually surprise you with how easy the decision is once you get that information. But at the moment, you feel like you're caught between these two cards. So the Five of Swords, the sort of internal and external conflict about beliefs, about timing, about plans, about communication, whatever area of it is your life that you're in, is making it feel very divided. You could literally be in a kind of almost a standoff with somebody, either in a relationship or around career at the moment, where neither of you are really giving way, and it looks very vexing. I think that's why we have nurture down here. That's why it's so important for you to get back to the first principles of lifestyle around where you put your resources and your time, because is this battle really worth having, I guess is the point. If it's in your career, it suggests to me, because this card is saying that timing is the issue here and things will work out, the answer is probably yes. And if it's in a love relationship and you're in one already, this card suggests, again, the answer is yes, but you need to kind of work out why it is, what needs to come to the surface to be discussed. If it's looking for someone, then possibly, yes, you're looking in the wrong places at the moment and you're actually overheating your sort of sense of wanting it and so forth. But I think it's more likely, I think for most, this is, as I say, going to be around career, creativity, something like that, and who you are in the world. And so you will need to make that decision, but it's making it around what is your lifestyle, how do you nurture yourself, how do you get balance back into things. So let's ask Spirit for 3 more tarot cards, just on advice about that. And then I think unless I get a different sense of this, I'm going to use some cards around the lifestyle and the career in particular to just get a little bit more information, because I think that for most of the people who've come here, that's probably where the main block is at the moment to living your best life. Okay, so that's interesting. We are now getting effectively Cups energy. In this deck, it's Moon. So this is the sort of emotional side of things. It does suggest that something here with it being clarifying the High Priestess, that there is some emotional attachment to something, whether it's a person or a project. I'm not sure. You will know better as to what resonates to you. But it is saying that part of what you're going to work out with this is that something is not working for you. It is not returning what it needs to return. And so that may be some elements of the thing around your career, though, as I say, that card very much suggested that most of the issues around your career are more an issue of timing rather than it not returning its value. But it may be saying, because of the emotional thing, that even if it is working, it may not be fitting with what your lifestyle choices are and nurturing yourself in some way. definitely it's saying that you are moving out of the conflict, that this is actually good news. You even if you are getting blamed for something, and I think some of you may be, you're going to be able to stand your case, you're going to be able to argue and maintain your position, and you are going to be able to take this forward in a way that works for you. Once you've worked out that your real issue is the struggle, the intellectual struggle about what suits you and what nurtures and feeds and nourishes you, then you can move away a lot quicker, and you move out of a sense of being alone. With the Five of Moons or Five of Cups reversed, you're moving out of that sense of unhappiness. Certainly, if this is picking up the energy around searching for a relationship, then I think most people here it is that you're looking for one rather than in one, because, as I say, this card tended to suggest if you were in one, you can actually find what's good in it. You could read that way, that you come to peace of mind of letting go of some of the sort of emotional programming or expectations and looking for what's good in it. But I think for most of you, it's more like it's picking up that sense of looking in the wrong places for the love, or looking for the wrong kind of connection, and being really caught up in it and feeling like, you've got some timetable that you've got to be on around it, which you don't need to be. So there is a little bit about, I think, relationship with this as well too. So we may pull a couple of, I think, cards for each of those elements. So firstly, I'm going to pull just a couple more around lifestyle, since we got that blame card, just to see what else Spirit may want to tell you about that. Okay, so this definitely suggests to me that this card, and that's what I felt at the beginning, is the key thing around all of this. It does look here with warning. This is a card that also says around your lifestyle, around your life in general, someone is not behaving in the way that they should. Someone is not being fair. Someone is not being honest. So whether or not this is mainly around relationship or career will depend on you probably, and we will, as to which one resonates for you, but you probably have a sense of it already. You probably know. Your intuition is very on point with this card, so you're going to have a sense of that already, and that will tell you whether or not the shift needs to happen around relationship in actual fact, even though that suggests for most who come here that if you're in one, it's okay. But if you're searching for one and you're just dating, it may be a sign that something's not right. Somebody's acting a bit shady, to be honest. There's also potentially a suggestion that's going to come to you, and that may be when this more information comes, and you may not be sure about whether this is going to be what you want it to be, but this is certainly suggesting, literally, to look at taking that on, to taking a leap of faith, that there is a solution coming for you and a choice coming for you. And it's almost like if you sit in over-analysis of it, you paralyze yourself and you stay stuck in the position. Go with your intuition, because the opportunity, the out of left field thing that comes along, whether it's in career, relationship, or just general wellness, whatever it is the thing that's going to take you out of this loop that is exhausting you and that is making you vulnerable to people misleading you. So let's pull a couple of cards for career and for relationship, just to get a sense about whether or not we can really hone in on what area that warning is. So firstly, career. And now I'll also shuffle and put out relationship. Okay, so I think the confusing thing about this for us, I think, pile one, is I think it's going to very much depend on who's come to the reading. I think that this is saying that anyone who's come to this reading as an overall sense has something that's not quite right. There's somebody who's not acting or behaving appropriately, and they are making a drain on your sense of nourishment, self-care and so forth, and potentially also causing issues in those aspects of your life. So either way, because there's sort of both an opportunity and compromise around work. So that does suggest that this part of it, the suggestion, something new coming through, even though this card said It's nothing wrong really with what's happening. There's a timing thing. It may be that it is just a tweak or a different way of doing things and a compromise with others that can bring about the right outcome and unstick this or move it to a new next level. So I definitely think the career sense overall is good. The issue is going to be make sure that you only compromise with the right people. So go by your instinct on that. Your instinct is going to be right. Go with that rather than constantly trying to look at all the variables, because it feels as though around your career, an opportunity to unstick things and move forward quickly, there's going to be a kind of a shorter time frame on that when that happens, and you're going to need to move with your instinct, I think. It is suggesting for some down here, this issue is with someone that they've been dating or with. So even though the overarching card suggests most in a relationship are in a good relationship, which is probably picking up this around harmony and just sorting things out, there is the potential need to confront if you're in a relationship that isn't working, or if you've been dating people and you're feeling like someone isn't quite on the up and up, or even confronting what it is that you need for harmony. So confronting within yourself what you need. So I think that it really does depend on who's come to this reading. And maybe for some, there's sort of issues on both. But if there's issues on both, I'm going back to these cards and this sense here, which is that maybe you are very analytical, you're very clever, you're somebody who really likes the evidence, really likes to, make really good plans, all that sort of thing. And I think this is saying at the moment that's overheating you and it's not working for you. It's almost as though in general in your life, you spend so much time focusing on those plans and whether they're running to time and they're working out for you, or whether the relationship is the right relationship, or you're looking in the right places and so forth, that you've lost sight of what was going to really make you happy, where you spend your life. What is the lifestyle that you want, and how do you get nurtured? So that, I think, is the key thing. That's the key. It's like, this is the challenge. The challenge is either in career or relationships around not having anybody take advantage of you, but equally finding where the compromises and harmony can be found in something that's worth going forward. But the key to it is making sure that it nurtures you and that your lifestyle is the thing that you use as a barometer for making your choices, particularly financially. So let's have a look at the spiritual advice that was in the cards underneath the Chakra Placement Stone. And then we're going to close out with the Astro Chakra cards for a final balance against each of these energies. So firstly, let's have a look at some spiritual advice. Okay, this is very much timing based, which is interesting. It could literally be saying that these various cycles of the moon are important. So pay attention to those if you resonate to the cycles of the moon. It's talking about last quarter release and waning crescent rest. And I think the release is from whatever isn't working, and just not getting caught up in, is it my fault? Can I just tweak it or whatever? You need to release that which isn't working so that you can let that sort of compromise and harmony and new opportunity energy come in. And it's also saying rest. And that's why I feel like you're really overburdening yourself at the moment. So with the waning crescent moon, and that's about going back to nurturing yourself, even if others are making demands on you. And I do think for some of you, people are making demands on your time and your attention. And it's sort of, so if you actually say, no, I'm going to take time out, that may be literally what they blame you for. And it's like, no, that's not a reasonable thing to take on, so don't take it on. Let's have a look at another oracle, which is an oracle that's made by the same creator who's made the Wandering Moon Tarot. So this is the Wandering Moon Oracle. So that's nice. Seeking is, if you allow yourself to rest and you release what isn't working, you open up the seeking to find your way through the labyrinth. You do get to the right outcome, which is what was promised career-wise for you, and really promised in the original card around relationship as well too. So if you seek for the right thing, but you don't make it analytical, you don't get caught up in analysing, you go to your heart and you go to your intuition, then that also opens the capacity for hope. So I do think many people who've come to this reading, you've been feeling a bit stuck, maybe a little bit burdened by other people, or without hope, or not really sure why life hasn't been sort of moving in the direction that you thought it would move in. But I think it is going to. This is, you allow yourself the release from what isn't working, you allow yourself the hope and the rest will look after itself. So to help you with that, let's close out with the Astro Chakra card. So I'm going to have one for each of those elements again, just to sort of see what final advice Spirit has for you about living your best life. Okay, so for a start, it is very much showing that the sort of spiritual side of things and your intuition, your spirituality, it is very much saying that they are key to you working your way through this. It's not about sitting in your head, it's about sitting in your spiritual knowing and your energy centers and your intuition and so forth. There's something very key about this, and it seems to be particularly around relationship, to be honest, with these two cards, between right up here at the top where the blame and where that sort of stuff is happening. There is a survival instinct, the first chakra, your foundational chakra, but the sun is with it, the sun in itself. It's about vitality. If you get the rest that you need and you don't take that blame on, that actually helps your foundation. It helps you with vitality. It helps you with who you are. This is getting back to what choices were you making around your lifestyle and your money and the time that you spent and self-nurturing for your wellness. That's really important because it's part of what your life path is. And then down here, in terms of relationship, we have the sixth chakra. So that's the third eye. It's telepathic. It's that kind of intuition and connection. That's why you'll know. If this issue is around relationship, you'll know. And it also says that if you stop worrying and thinking about it, and if you're looking for a relationship, if you're seeking, you will know if you go to your intuition rather than, some criteria, some checklist or something around what you're looking for in a relationship. Go with your gut. But it is important with Uranus there for this to be about who you are. This is about an energy of connection, but also detachment. And so I think it's saying that detach either from a relationship if it's not working out, if it's confrontational and so forth, and look for one that is, or detach from the process of thinking about a relationship or thinking about looking for it. Like, get to that sense where who you are is important, your inner self, and go with your intuition, and that will help you. In career and finance, it's very much around spirituality. Some of you may work in a career area where spirituality is important. If so, you're very much on point, I would say. And you've got both Jupiter and Mars there in that's the seventh chakra, which is the crown chakra. So that's like having Jupiter and Mars conjunct. And that's about connection and accomplishment, as you can see. So it is saying that career and finance should be good once you really reconnect to what it was that you wanted to do, to your wisdom and to connecting to the right people, and you put your energy, having rested, into what you want to do and into remember what your lifestyle is. What is it that you really, how do you want to live, and make your career decisions and your financial decisions around that, connected to your spiritual wisdom. Then you've got a really benefic growth energy. So it's again saying what that initial card said at the beginning, which is that if you feel stuck in your career, it's going to unstick. Whatever it is that's doing it, it's going to unstick. And it's really getting to what you spiritually and almost individually want in your lifestyle is going to help you unstick it. Down here, again, it's interesting that where the blame is and also where the need for self-nurturing is, we have again the first chakra, so the foundational chakra. And this is bringing Jupiter wisdom to that. And that's the wisdom of self-nurturing. That's saying that I do have to put myself first sometimes. Even if people up here are, saying I'm being selfish or something, that's not right. It's very important for me to nurture myself, take some wisdom around that, work out again, recalibrate to what and who it is that I wanted to be, and then detach enough in relationships to be able to do that so that blame and other demands on me don't slow me down. So overall, pile one, I think you're actually about to be on a very good trajectory across the board. All that Spirit wants you to do is not overthink things. Go into your intuition, go into your knowing about what makes you happy, and everything else kind of follows from that. It's quite a strong manifestation energy in a way, but it's like you've put the handbrake on your own manifestation by overthinking it. So if you stop doing that and you allow your instinct and your heart to seek rather than your mind, because your mind's very sharp. You'll always be fine. There's not a problem with that, but it's just overheating everything, and it's allowing you to get into conflict. So step away from the conflict, put your boundaries around, and listen to your inner being, and you will definitely be living your best life. So I hope that that resonates for you, Pile 1, and I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe, and if you know what this is all about, I'd be really interested to hear about in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So these cards are the Heart Code Oracles, and so this is from the Lifestyle Oracle. This is from career, finance, relationships, and wellness. And so in combination, we can get a bit of a sense about the broad areas of your life and about where things are working well and where things could be improved and so forth. The first thing I should say, because I think it's the most positive message out of this, because I think there are some challenges here to look at and address, is that we have good health down and wellness. So for most people who come to this, if you've had any health concerns, they're likely to be fine. Of course, if you do have any, go to a doctor. You should never use a tarot reading as a medical diagnosis. But so if you do, go and see somebody. But chances are that will be a good outcome for most, if not everybody, that has come to this reading, if that's the case. But again, do go and get advice if you have been concerned. But for those who haven't been concerned, then I think it's an indication that, yes, you didn't need to be. Overall, your constitution, your health and everything is good health. I might just hold this up a little bit more. It's a bit hard for you to read that in the light. It says good health. So I'm not sure exactly how this is coming up on the camera, but that says good health. So that's fantastic, because whatever else you're dealing with, and it does look like you're dealing with a bit, Pile 2, you will be able to rely on health and just general sort of stamina and all that sort of thing. There are two key challenges, I think, potentially in this. When we look up at lifestyle, it talks about baggage. And so what that's talking about, and this could be in relationships, it could be in career. I think for most it's probably around relationship, and I'll get to why. It suggests that you're carrying some baggage from the past, some emotional hurts, some things that weren't done right by you, whatever it might be. You're carrying that at the moment, and that's affecting your lifestyle because it's unresolved in some way. Even if it's just internally and it's making you gun shy of doing other things or venturing into whatever area it was that this occurred, or whether it's literally taking some emotional toll on you. So even though you have good health, you may find that your energy levels are not as high, and that's not because of anything baseline in your health. It's actually more about emotional baggage and the stuff that you're carrying, so to speak. And it's quite likely for most people who come here that it's around relationship, because down in the relationship area we have distractions. And that is where we avoid looking at something. So you could be in a relationship and there's something not really working with it, but you don't want to look at it, or you could have been in ones before, they didn't work out the way that you wanted, so you are avoiding looking at them, avoiding moving it forward because you're worried that similar sorts of things will happen again. So it's part of the examination of that baggage, if it's about emotional things, is to work out where you might be projecting that into current or potential future relationships where it's not appropriate, or where it's making you feel instinctively like you want to be distracted. Sometimes, we find it's just human nature that if we have something that's very vexing, that we might sit down and we think, I'm going to think about this, I'm going to sort it through, I'm going to work out a plan, and the next thing you know, you're doing the spring cleaning or something, and somewhere you've, without even consciously being aware of it, you've distracted yourself, or something comes up on your iPhone, for instance, or something like that. So being aware of where distractions are taking away from something, it'll be telling you something about where it is actually necessary to put some attention, energy, contemplation, meditation, and so forth. It could also be happening around work. If you come to this reading and you've had something happen at work where you were unfairly treated, you didn't get credit for something, whatever it might be, then you might be carrying that again, and it's stopping you from moving forward because we've got procrastination around career. So it's a similar sort of energy in a way. Down here it's distraction rather than dealing with the emotional stuff. Here it's procrastinating, like, I'll get around to it or whatever. So it's the same sort of avoidance energy. And it does seem to be connected, I think, to whatever this baggage is. So depending upon what that is, that may be affecting one or both of those areas of your life. And Spirit is saying you do need to be careful, because over here around finance we have challenges. That card comes up where maybe some unexpected expenses might come up. And that could be because of not following through on something. that's probably more connected to that than relationships, but it could also somehow be connected to that. But it's really just a bit of a warning that something like that might come out, something might come out of left field. So make sure you're a little bit careful over the next few months, at least, in what you spend your money on, because it's having that little bit put aside for a rainy day. Doesn't necessarily mean anything terrible is going to happen. I feel like it's more that there might be some strains on your finances, particularly if you say run your own business or something like that, where not getting around to the details might mean that you don't get quite the revenue you expect. So if you unlock this, you've probably fixed that up. But if this takes a little bit of time to do, it's worth having that money put aside, basically. But a lot of it connects to the baggage thing. What is the thing that didn't work out? Or in what areas of your life did things not work out? Because that's where you need to put the energy and the attention, and not be afraid of doing that, because, as I say, your constitution is very good. So let's have a look at what tarot can tell us to give us a little bit more information about what areas of your life this baggage is in particular, and how it might be impacting both a procrastinating and a distracting type of energy around career and relationships for you. Okay, so I think both with the Eight of Moons, which is the Eight of Cups effectively reversed, which is an energy of not shifting out of emotional patterns that you need to shift out of, and the Eight of Swords, which is that sense of tying ourselves up and thinking we're more trapped than we actually are, we're very much picking up the energy of these two things, and it does obviously have to do with something that's occurred. So again, it could be in either aspect of your life with that, because you could have emotional patterns around your work that is causing you to sort of like not move forward and procrastinate and get stuck. It could also be that not letting go of old emotional patterns, old experiences make you feel and fear, because these swords cards can make us fear because we can imagine so much more than is usually actually happening in our lives. We can catastrophize. That energy could cause you to distract yourself away from dealing with something. You definitely look like you're a bit exhausted. This is why it's interesting, I think, that the good health card comes up. I think it's saying that if you are feeling burnt out, it's not anything wrong with your health really. It's got to do with unlocking this issue, the baggage and what it's doing in possibly both areas of your life. You do look like you've been quite successful with work, or in who you are in the world with the King of Wands there. And that is a good thing. It says that you really do. And again, it's saying you have underneath the real energy to do this and to shift through. And that really you've dealt with worse than whatever you're dealing with at the moment. You really have. In fact, it's possible with the King of Wands that this baggage and whatever effect it's having it's almost maybe the first time that you really did have something go wrong. You were kind of almost a winner all the time. And maybe that's been a little bit discombobulating. So for some of you, it's like this baggage is because you're not used to having things not work out for you. You're very talented. You're very good at what you do. But Spirit is saying you still are very talented and very good at what you do. It's like, don't let this halt you, slow you down, or take you, distract you from, don't let this baggage stop you from moving forward. And don't let that sense, because it's taking more energy, Pile 2, to distract yourself and to hold yourself in that procrastination phase. It's taking more energy to do that than it would be to just get on with it. Like, frankly, if you just said, okay, I'm going to accept the baggage, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to deal with it, the load would really lift. But you're not sure about whether you want to do that with the Two of Wands or the Two of Cups reversed. It's like you're not making the choice to do that. I do think for many people this baggage is relationship based, and it's almost like because of that it's bleeding over into your career rather than the other way around. But for some of you it may be that it's career primarily. But with these moon cards, these cup cards, I feel like that's probably for most of you, it's something that's happening in a relationship. It isn't being dealt with and it's bleeding into other areas of your life rather than the other way around. So let's ask Spirit for just a little bit more clarification around that. And then depending upon that, we'll look at some other heart code oracle cards for the areas that are really key to this. Okay, so I think we're going to have to look at both relationship and career, because I think we're getting a bit of both here, and the baggage could be from either side. So the reason I say that is, firstly, we've got King of Stars, which is like King of Pentacles reversed, and it's clarifying the Eight of Moons reversed. So it does suggest there's a very material outcome here. It's not reaching your full manifestation, your full abundance, because of something that you're not letting go, a pattern that you're not letting go in some way. For some of you, I'm getting in a career situation, there might be a project that you really, really want to do, but to do it, you've got to do a whole bunch of other things that you're not interested in or you don't think are as important. And because you won't let go, just do that, do the stuff that you need and move forward, you're halting yourself in some way. So you're procrastinating on the real thing that you want to do because of all this other sort of energy. And if you just move through it, you just relieved yourself of the burden that the Ten of Wands there is showing, then you would be able to move forward. But for some reason, you're not doing that, or you're not feeling as confident in a way of the material outcome of what you're doing compared to where it is in your heart. And actually, I'm getting that connects here to these financial challenges. It may be that for some of you, the procrastination is coming from the fact that what you would dearly love to do in your heart, in your career, you're worried about whether it's going to make the same sort of money as maybe what you are doing. And I think Spirit is then saying, if you are reasonably well off and you have been successful, and I think you have, or most of you have, then put some money aside, because that might allow you to stop procrastinating on what your dream is, even if it's a side hustle that you do for a while, a side business, until you feel that you're ready to move forward. Because it does look like, with the Four of Swords reversed and the Page of Wands reversed, you need to come out into the world more. You need to be more clear about what you want. It's like you've hidden that away. It's been something private, a passion project that's private or whatever. And with the Page of Wands, you've diminished what you've been doing, something that's diminishing what you really love to do, and that's partly what's getting you stuck. So on the career side, that's like that. In the relationship, something needs to be said. There is a burden that is operating in a relationship, or even if you felt alone and you need to sort of get out there and be more seen so that you can find someone. It's like you need to move past this distraction, because you're cutting the passion out in your life, and you're feeling like you can't ever get the stability and the long-term relationship that you want. But it's got something to do with the baggage that we're dealing with there. So let's get some cards for both of these. Let's have a look at career, and then let's have a look at relationship to see whether there's any more advice that Spirit can give you. Oh, okay. All right. So I'm not sure how easy it is to read these things. So this says leadership, and this says choice. This says validation, and this says twin flame. So let's go to the leadership choice first, and then we'll get to the relationship. Leadership and choice suggest to me, and this is I think why the Kings have come up, that if this baggage and this procrastination and this difficulty, this tying yourself up in knots, is in your career area, part of what's making you procrastinate is whether or not you want to move into a leadership role. It may be that what you really love doing is the doing of work, the creating of work, etc. Some of you may be having an opportunity to become a leader, but you're feeling like you'll cease doing what you want and you'll just be managing people doing what you want. So I think Spirit is saying there, if that's the case, you have the choice around this. But if you don't make the choice to go to leadership, then you won't necessarily get the financial rewards out of that, not at least in the short term. You may in the longer term, particularly if you then, as I say, maybe do something separate, which is what you love, and you have a different income stream. But that procrastination around you is the choice about whether to do it. And it may be for some of you, you've been in that position before and you didn't enjoy it. You had baggage from that. It was a difficult thing. Being a leader is not necessarily interesting and fun all the time. Sometimes it's just really hard work. So it depends upon what you want to do and what would give you joy and so forth, and balancing out the financial implications of that around that choice are important for you. But doing it on that basis of what do you really want to do? What is the balance between that? Is money as important to you as being true to yourself? Because at the moment it looks more like you are happier if you do something that you really excel in. It's the typical sort of pattern for someone who is an amazing technical specialist, an amazing innovator, and if they move up the ladder because the only thing in their workplace is to move up the ladder to a leadership position, they often feel that they don't get to do all that anymore. So that there's something around that. There's a choice around that. There may also be almost a reverse of that, that you are needing to look for a different place, a different person to work for. Maybe the leadership around where you are and the workplace culture is not working for you, and that's creating the baggage. So that I think is around leadership, around the type of role you do and what really sustains you and what really fulfills you, balanced with what is going to give you the sort of financial benefits that you need for your lifestyle and so forth. Down here around relationship, this is pretty full on. So I think that many people who came here, and this I think is why I thought more than anything it was around relationship when I first saw it. When we get twin flame, there is a possibility some of the people who've come here are in those sort of very complex, intense twin flame type of environments. Or it may be that you have been through something like that, and that is what the baggage is still carrying. They aren't the easiest relationships. They're quite testing. You can read up on them. There's plenty of sort of advice you can get around twin flames if you feel that you've had that. But they are tricky, and it does look as though the relationship you're in at the moment, or what you're seeking in a relationship, is some form of validation, some form of security. So there's something about this. If you're in one at the moment, it's like you don't feel fully validated and you don't feel secure. You don't feel like it's necessarily one for the long term, even though it's really intense. If you've been through one like that, it may be like, how do I find that degree of passion, but also have validation and longer term? So it's got to do with either dealing with the baggage from a twin flame that didn't work out, or how you balance that incredibly strong energy around it. So let's have a look at some spiritual advice for you. These were amongst the cards under the chakra placement stone that you chose to come to this reading. Okay, so firstly we have Sarasvati, which is the goddess of art, music, knowledge, and eloquence. So this really does make me think that for many of you, this is about being true to your voice, being true to who you are, and this goddess is with you. So if you are looking to, can you in fact over here become a leader in a different way, a leader in terms of your creativity, your artistry, and all that sort of thing, to get back that passion and fire so that you're not procrastinating anymore, she will help you with that sort of energy. And it may also say for the right relationship, it has something to do with art, music, knowledge, and eloquence as well. It could be something that you meet someone in a field that has to do with that, you work in a field like that, something like those sort of creative energies may be important to this. It is saying self-care is important and making sure that you don't neglect that. Now, as I say, you may do that a bit, Pile 2, because you know you have basic good health. With that first card that said good health, you might think, well, I'm okay, I don't have to think about this. But self-care is more than just your physical self. It's also understanding where emotional energy in our body and spiritual energy in our body is holding us back or blocking us. So it's important to put that first, and that shifts everything, I think, in whichever area it is. So let's see what else we have. Okay, and so then we've got wisdom and direction. So I think that this is really saying that once you've sorted it through, once you look at what you need to look at, wisdom will come to you. It's like you're avoiding looking at it, you're avoiding dealing with it because of the baggage. Going back into that and understanding it from the perspective of what is good for you will help, and that will then give you the direction that you need. So it's certainly saying that the light at the end of the tunnel is coming, and it's not an oncoming train. It is really light. It's daylight. You can get there, but you have to be prepared to look into this and what it has meant to you. And then because of whatever it is that you've gone through, whatever this baggage is, it's also given you wisdom, and not to sort of see it as just a bad thing that stops you. It's something that actually adds to your kit bag and you can move forward with, and you can get the direction. So let's finish off with the Astro Chakra cards, just to get energy for each of those areas of your life. Again, just the final advice for you from Spirit for living your best life at this point in time, Pile 2. Okay. So firstly, up in the lifestyle where we have the baggage to deal with, we have the solar plexus chakra, which is great. So that suggests that this baggage, dealing with this baggage, is actually about self-actualizing, self-empowering and so forth, and strengthening, particularly with Pluto, the planet of transformation. It says you can do it. It says you have everything you need. Do not underestimate yourself. Remember, you are the King of Wands, and you could be potentially, if you move through this, also the King of Pentacles. So both the fiery energy and also being able to ground and actualize and manifest something. You have the power, you have the energy. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can make the changes, that the baggage does not define you now, pile 2. It is just the past. It is just something to learn from. It is very important around your career that you are creatively fulfilled. So this again picks up that King of Wands. Creativity is part of this. And if that is part of the choice about leadership, that's part of the thing to think about. Like, confront it, work out whether or not you could go into a leadership role and still create. There are ways to do that, but you need to consciously think about it, because it's really important, because it's coming up with the sun. So the creative chakra, the sacral chakra, is connected to the sun. That is who you are. You are a creative person. And any choice that you make in your career needs to honor that creativity. Any choice that you make around your finances as well needs to be something that you feel spiritually aligned to, because you've also got the sun in the 7th chakra there, so in the crown chakra. So that issue around making sure you have the money to use in the way that you need to use it is very much a thing around having the spiritual basis to fulfill who you are in life. So I suspect with most of pile 2 that you are highly creative. You're probably not overly conventional. You may be in conventional environments, or you may be extremely good at what you do in any environment, and as I say, be moving towards leadership roles where you feel a bit divorced from some of that creativity. It's very important to you to be doing something that you think has both spiritual and creative value. And if you think you're not in that, that's why this was saying to save a bit of money, because there may be an opportunity that comes up for you to shift into something that you want to do, but there could be short-term financial losses associated with that until you re-establish yourself. And that, again, is picking up King of Wands versus King of Pentacles reversed. Down here around relationships, creativity is important to that as well too. So certainly there's a creative connection, a very fertile connection potentially around relationships for you, but there's Mars associated with it. So there's a lot of energy around power, and I think that those two work together. I suspect that the baggage that you're carrying from relationships, if that resonates to you, is about a power imbalance. So this is saying make sure you own your own power within a relationship, because you're a very loving person. Just on your base level, you're sort of like wellness, and what you think is wellness comes from the heart. Your heart needs to be nourished. But equally, you need to transform something in that space, in the heart chakra, because Pluto is there. But you do have the strength to do that. You have the strength up here to do it on a lifestyle level with Pluto there, and you have the strength here as well with Pluto again. So Pluto allows the transformation. So I think overall this is a very good reading. It is saying you're about to unblock yourself, but you have been blocked in one or both of these areas. And that one could have some implications there. And I guess to some degree relationships could have some longer term implications to health. That's why it's important for self-care. But the key is going through the transformation, trusting that you have everything that you need to do it, and making sure that all your decisions are about your life path, your sun path, and fulfill both your creative and spiritual instincts. So pile 2, I hope that resonates for you, and I hope it's helpful in living your best life. If you enjoyed the reading, please like the video and subscribe. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So these are the heart code oracles that I mentioned in the introduction. So this is from the lifestyle, the career, finance, relationship, and wellness. And by looking at the energies for these, we get a bit of a sense about where the blessings and blockages may be for you living your best life. It can be a little bit hard, I think, to read the writing. It's sort of gold. So I'll let you know what the writing says. So for this one, it says mirror. So for lifestyle, it's talking about mirror. For career, victory. For finances, sacrifices. For relationships, self-focused. And health, anxiety. I think the key to this actually is the mirror card to start with. So this card comes up when we are potentially, we've either been in a conflict type of situation, or we're confused about various aspects of our life, or frustrated by various aspects of our life. So I suspect that you have been for some reason, and that we tend to mirror ourselves and our own perceptions onto others, or mirror and take on other people into ourselves. So it's that concept that people sometimes talk about, that the thing that we dislike in others is something we dislike in ourselves. Now, I don't think that's a universal thing. I think sometimes you can dislike something in somebody because the behaviour is just not good behaviour. But when mirror comes up, it's important to work out whether or not you're fully clearly seeing what's going on, or whether it's being processed through your own emotions and so forth in one form or another. And that's not meant as a criticism. That could happen for any reason, and we often do it. And it's very important to where we have good friends and so forth, to get a little bit of a reflection back from them, and to really pay attention to how people are reacting to us. Because interestingly enough, down here in a relationship, this has self-focused. It's where somebody can be so focused on something that they're trying to achieve that they maybe cut themselves off, or distance themselves from people, or even become critical or analytical, or people just don't feel as connected. So it's possible here that what's going on is that you are experiencing that from people because you're focusing on something, possibly in career with victory there, because victory suggests that you're close to achieving something you've worked a lot on, and there maybe has been a lot of challenge and you've been really, really focused on it. So it's possible that what's happened is you've detached yourself from loved ones, friends, family to some degree, and you feel like they're acting out and not understanding what you need, because you're feeling quite anxious about what's happening in this energy. Like, why are people detaching from me, or why aren't people sort of helping me, or whatever it might be. And you've maybe lost a little bit of balance, I have to say, Pole 3, in the sense that this battle is not everything. It is important also to connect with others, because they will help you with that, and they will help you understand just as you help them understand when we mirror, when we do that, because it's very human. This also suggests, as I say, that you are going to achieve something significant in your career very soon if you haven't already done so, but it has not been without challenges, and probably not without financial or other sacrifices. And this certainly suggests that if there are financial sacrifices, to take that over the line, to plan those well. Obviously, you don't want to get into real financial difficulty, but to recognise that we sometimes do invest to actually get a better outcome in some way in our career or in our business or whatever it might be. It also can come up, this card, where we spend money almost because it makes up for a feeling of a lack somewhere else. So this could show that some of you are doing spending because you felt detached from others, or you felt unhappy in some way with the world, or because of the frustrations you've been dealing with and so forth. As an example, this is a timeless reading, so it'll resonate whenever you see it, but it's being recorded when we're still dealing with lockdowns and so forth with the pandemic, and we've been doing that for over a year really, in one form or another, in many countries. And it's very common that we will tend to overspend during that, like kind of comfort spending and so forth. So it could be that there's a little bit of that going on as well too, to think about. If that's the case, just make sure that it's something that's really going to give you a return, make you feel better, and not something that's just done on impulse. Because there's a feeling of a really, really strongly focused energy towards whatever this achievement is that's maybe got you a bit out of balance, and you're getting this reflected back to you from others, and it's making you feel anxious. But if you understand what that mechanism is, then you can actually release that and get back those sort of good relationships and feel that sort of support, because you really are on the brink of something here. You are really going to move forward with that. So let's ask Spirit for a little bit more information via tarot on the balance of all these things for you, Pile 3. Okay, for a start, we're definitely getting a secondary confirmation that you're about to be victorious in something material. And also, if you have been overspending a bit, you can bring that under control, because we have strength and the King of Stars. King of Stars in this deck is the King of Pentacles. So that is a person who has made money, who is financially secure, all those sorts of things. So, and usually has progressed in a career or a business, whatever it might be, whatever you're doing in your career. you will be doing very well with that, and that is definitely saying that you will. And that it's also connecting here to the Four of Moons, which is the Four of Cups, being reversed, coming out of a sense of feeling a bit emotionally stuck. So that's a very good narrative. At the end of this narrative is manifestation, is success, is strength. So knowing that, it's like, I think Spirit is saying, just knowing that's coming, I think will start to release some of this energy and get you more in balance, because it does look like you've really just been stuck in the planning. You've kind of caught yourself up in all these ideas. You've been almost a bit obsessed, to be honest, around what you're doing, and you may have needed to be, pile 3, because this card doesn't come out just for victory that's easy. It's victory that comes from meeting challenges and going with them, but you have been a bit stuck in that, and you thought that was what you needed to do pragmatically. These together, the Eight of Swords and then the Seven of Moons or Seven of Cups reversed, very much suggests to me the pragmatism emotionally around that and the intellectual straitjacketing of that suggests that you thought you had to do that. You had to spend a lot of time on whatever this career thing was. You had to neglect people, but now you're sort of worried about the impact of it. But it does look like you're about to have this breakthrough here. So if you're aware of this, then not blaming others, but understanding the dynamic can help you start to shift through this. So let's ask for a few more cards just to clarify that a bit more for you. Okay, so it's interesting. What it is saying is, yes, you are going to, something really good is coming through. And really that can release so much energy for you with the Eight of Wands. So that's sort of like hope and an uprush of optimism and so forth. And the Four of Wands suggests spending some more time then with people. I think that's all that's necessary. Like, it does feel like maybe you've detached a lot from people. And instead of thinking, well, they should just understand where they're coming from as well. Spend more time with them. There's a lot of harmony that can come in. But with the Chariot reverse, it is saying that you do have a tendency sometimes to sort of get stuck, and not move forward. So don't allow that to happen. You understand that you are stronger than you think. And if you have been in situations with the Chariot reverse, which can be, well, the Chariot either way actually can be around balancing head and heart and sort of difficult emotions, you have the strength, it says, to deal with that, but you do have to deal with it. You do have to look at how much was you and how much was the other person, and it will be a bit of both. I'm not saying, oh, well, it's all your fault, pile 3, but it is saying that if you really dispassionately look at that and see that in a very pragmatic sort of way rather than an emotional way, that helps bring the harmony and that freedom and that sense of energy coming through. So I do think there's something really fantastic coming up for you, and I think it's just, don't lose the opportunity to thread that through the other parts of your life. So given that, I might focus on these two as the extra information. So any other sort of advice around relationships and advice around how to kind of make that better for your wellness so that you're not so anxious about it. So let's start firstly with relationships. What other advice Spirit would give us around that for you? And then around wellness. Okay, so that's quite specific. I'll get to that. So around, in case you can't read them, around relationship it says judgment and assumption. Around wellness it says tension and skin issues. So firstly, around relationships, I think this is, you may feel judged by other people. And sometimes you may have been. People may have been a little bit harsh. You may have, in fact, been criticised for being too focused on something else, etc., etc. Or you may assume with the assumption that you are being judged in some way. But these cards are saying, and you may judge as well, this is the mirror operating. But the key to this is not moving into assumption. Like, have the conversation, have the dialogue. I very much get the sense that even if you're feeling stress and tension around relationships around you, they're good relationships. And really, there's kind of a little bit of fault on both sides in this. But you opening the dialogue and acknowledging that maybe you've been focused on other things and you want to focus on them as well and so forth, they will meet you more than halfway. That will work out. But if you just sit in judgment and you sit in this mirroring phase, then you're making assumptions that keep you stuck, and that won't help your general wellness. over here, that tension, it's again saying tension, anxiety. This does matter to you. You are not someone who is just a career obsessive, I have to say. I just think you've been through something, you've been focused on it, it's got a little bit out of balance. So, but because relationships matter to you a lot. And you really feel it if you feel judged in relationships as well. This really matters to you. So it's causing tension. And for some of you, it may be causing skin issues. You might be, getting psoriasis or something like that you could literally have that. It may also be that, you almost feel it prickling on your skin when you're feeling tense and so forth. So for some of you, that's just understanding where that tension is coming from, and beyond the relationship thing around wellness, doing whatever you can do to relieve tension, anxiety and so forth. So meditate, take an Epsom salts bath, use aromatherapy, whatever works for you that helps with tension. Then if that's causing sort of skin issues and so forth, you should find that abates. And that's going to be quite specific, but it's interesting it came up. So it may be for many of the people who come here that your skin is a very good barometer, if you get breakouts or something for when you're feeling tense. And that helps you to understand when this energy might be occurring and you might be distancing yourself from people. So given that, pile 3, let's have a look at some spiritual advice for you. Okay, so firstly we've got pink quartz. So if you have pink quartz around you, it could be really helpful to have that, and that may really, because it's about love, open heart, kindness, all the energies to reopen this up, that may really help you around the tension and anxiety as well. But if not, that sort of sense of, yes, I am open-hearted, I am loving, I am kind, because I think you are. I just think you've been really focused on something else, and so people have been surprised by that, and then you've been surprised by their reaction, and you just get this sort of like ever-evolving type of situation, this sort of standoff. But pink quartz is something around that energy that will help you. We've also got Ｐέλαις, who's a goddess of volcanoes, creativity, change and protection. I think that's this energy coming through, the victory coming through. I think Ｐέλαις is working for you to bring you through whatever those challenges are, to create the new world that you need, to deal with all of that. So make sure around your finances you're not spending on things you don't need to, because it may be there are some opportunities coming through this with change and creativity that if you have the extra resources you can accelerate it even more. But like, let that energy come through. You're meant to have a transformation. You're meant to have a victory. Okay, so I think this is interesting spiritually, because I think it's kind of a reminder, and it's an interesting reminder with the mirror. So firstly, we've got a higher power, and I think Ｐέλαις certainly is working there, a higher power to help you. But I think it is also tune into a higher power and tune into what you believe in spiritually. But it's also understand you don't have to be everything, because mortality is really just about understanding that we are here for a time and we have certain things that we can do with others and with ourselves and so forth, and that there is a higher purpose than just any given life and so forth. If you are at all worried about health things, like if that anxiety is there to that degree, definitely go and get some advice. Not because I think there's anything really major to deal with. I do think that this is connected with, but if you worry about that stuff and if that makes you even more worried, you are much better off going and getting the medical advice and care, because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be fine. And even that 1 time out of 10 when it isn't great, you'll get a plan for how you deal with it. So this is not about you ending your life or anything like that. This is about an awareness of a larger purpose, and that you will be supported by a higher power when things are within your life path and what you're meant to achieve, which I think you're meant to achieve there. So let's have a look at the Astro Chakra cards to finish off, just to sort of get the last sort of advice against each of those elements of your life for living your best life. And that's a very good reminder about living our best life, doing that now and making sure we get the balance that we want in our lives, because those choices are our choices, whereas a higher power will be guiding us on other levels. Okay, so what this is definitely telling me for a start is that something about your success, something about this thing coming through is got a lot to do with your individuality, with who you are as a person, with something very new and different you bring to things. Because we have Uranus in both the career with the sixth chakra, so the intuitive third eye chakra in the career area, and we've also got it down here in the wellness around communication and so forth. So again, this suggests to me in total, there is something about you with communication, with the throat chakra, talking to people, clearing the air by talking. You actually deal with tension and so forth by talking things through. If you are concerned about health things, if you're going to talk about it to your doctor, then you're going to realize that it's really not that serious. And or if there's something that you do need to deal with, you are able to deal with it. Like you are very unique in the way that you look at things, and you're highly sensitive, I think, particularly on a sort of physical level, and it really reflects, and that's I think why the skin issues have come through. And you can be quite anxious, but if you talk to people about things and you're clear about what is true to you with the Uranus energy there, then that really helps you. There's something, you're unusual, Part 3. You're not a conventional person, and even around your health stuff, you're not necessarily following conventional things, but communication is key. And up here around your career with the Uranus energy of individuality, your intuition, your gut is going to be really right. I think you've known whatever this thing is you're going to win, but you have had to deal with a lot of obstacles, and some of that had to do with the fact that you are very different to people. There's something that you're bringing in that's different. There's, you're not conventional, and you've had to get that kind of level of detachment, understanding that level of detachment. And it is also saying that if you've been a bit obsessed with it, that the next step is to detach even from the outcome, because it'll sort itself out. I think the strange thing about that is that in this focus, people have misunderstood you, I think. They think that you're obsessed with it, but it's not really that. You're kind of just moving through it. You're clear about what you want, about what is individually right for you, and you're focused on that. And people have maybe felt that made you detached from them or too obsessed with it. But that's not true. You've got a good balance on that and a good intuition for that. Because interestingly, you're very spiritually oriented with the seventh chakra, the crown chakra up there around lifestyle, and with Jupiter there for wisdom. You are about connection. This is the weird thing. That's why I'm saying that relationships are very important to you. And if they're not working out for some reason, it really affects you sort of physically. You really kind of feel it physically. You are about that. And so if this pushing for individuality in some way has detached you from others on a spiritual level, you'll be feeling that. But the good thing is with Jupiter, you have the wisdom to connect. And down here, you're also using your intuition again, because we've got the sixth chakra again, so the third eye chakra with Neptune for inspiration and surrender. I think that most of you, once you've achieved this thing, which is almost immediate, I would say, you're going to be prepared to surrender and listen to others and go into your intuition to repair those potential issues, and you're going to be really on point for that, and it's going to work out well. But you do need to surrender and understand that is as important as this, because underneath, in some ways for you, as long as you're allowed to be true to who you are, then in fact relationship is far more important to you than career success, though career success is coming. Over here around money, again, communication, Mercury is there as well too. So you've got the planet of communication in the throat chakra of communication, so speaking out. So again, make sure that if there's any financial details around this, you speak out. You are very much a person who needs to communicate. Communication is really, really strong for you. So the more that you do that, you sort everything out that way, because what's coming into you is very intuitive, very spiritual, very on point, but it's like it gets stuck in you and misunderstood and distorted through the mirror energy until you communicate. When you communicate, everything sorts itself out. So Part 3, I do think you're about to be very successful in something, probably a bit hard one. It has probably cost you a little bit around relationships in the sort of short to medium term, and that has caused you some anxiety and tension. But once you actually start to communicate again, connect with that again and so forth, you can sort it out. You're very articulate, you're very able to communicate who you are and the importance of relationships to you, and I have no doubt that you will. So go forward and grab that success. It's very much well earned, and then reconnect to anybody that you felt a bit detached from. They're all completely repairable by the looks of things. And if for some reason one isn't, then maybe it was meant to move on. But I think anybody that is the right connection for you, you will be able to reestablish that, and I think deal with the anxiety that you have here. So it's a little bit of a tricky reading on one level, in that it does take some self-reflection and understanding of how we can bring things about in our life. While we're focusing on one thing, we can neglect others. But I do believe that you will move through this because whatever you have been focusing on in your career is about to bear fruit. So I hope that you enjoyed this reading, Pile 3. I hope that it resonated for you. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you do know and you have comments, love to hear about it in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.